News 12's Anthony Carlo joining us here in studio with more on the news that right now, Anthony, everyone is talking about.
Yeah, well, you got that right, Kurt. The governor says his resignation will take effect in 14 days. This coming as all signs pointed towards impeachment. We have a little bit of a problem. Vaccination rates are declining. Not as many New Yorkers are coming out and getting the vaccine. And the COVID infection rate with this new Delta variant is starting to tick up, and not only across the nation, but right here in New York City. Now, Doctor, of course, there's been a lot of talk about this fast-spreading Delta variant. We have heard that this variant continues to spread, and that is why our case numbers are ticking up here in New York City. So how critical of a time is this right now, and how dangerous can it be if vaccination levels don't rise as the Delta variant continues to spread? 8 men from Brooklyn are accused of running a $2 million unemployment fraud scheme. Well, a grandmother in Mott Haven tells News 12 that her leaking ceiling you see here in her NYCHA apartment is an embarrassment. Little crunch bar here.
He's not sharing. He's not sharing.
You want some crunch bar, Asia?
Yes. Can you throw it, please?
You want some crunch bar?
Yes.
We'll catch that crunch bar.
Okay.
I don't know if you're looking.
My God.
Hey, Mike, you want some crunch bar?
Yeah, come on. Let's go.
I got it.
Oh,
Wait.
wait, hold on. Mike,
Wait.
You like crunch or you like something else?
I like crunch. Crunch is good.
Let's see if you can make
ready,
it to
Mike?
Mike.
All right.
Here we go, Mike.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, the job was reserved for the toughest cops on a mission to stop the bullets from flying. But critics say the anti-crime squad did more harm than good. Now, after a year without them, how has the city been dealing with a rash of gun violence? News 12's Anthony Carlo has this story.
You see the crime, you see the criminal, you go get it.
You have a shot spotter activation.
Cops say it was one of the most dangerous jobs on the force.
He's reaching for it! He's reaching for it!
A job that ultimately ended Detective Brian Mulkeen's life. The moments before he was killed by friendly fire caught on this body cam video while struggling with an armed man in the Bronx. Mulkeen was part of the NYPD's anti-crime squad in 2019.
Being an anti-crime and street crime was proactive policing, right? Jumping out on people, chasing people.
Angel Masonette also worked anti-crime out of the 48th precinct.
In the 4-8 specifically, there was a drug spot almost on every corner. So where there's drugs, there had to be people protecting the drugs with the guns.
The squad made up of plainclothes cops with one main job, getting illegal guns off city streets.
Growing up in the hood, it was exciting for me to help make a difference because I have family, that lives in the Bronx, and that's why we do the job.
By coming face to face with the city's most violent criminals.
The criminals back then weren't emboldened, right? They didn't carry guns because they knew that at any moment a cop can jump out of a nondescript vehicle and grab them and get a gun off of them.
But the NYPD disbanded its anti-crime unit last June after a united call for police reform, following the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Police Commissioner Dermot Shea citing a disproportionate number of shootings and civilian complaints.
We can do it with brains, we can do it with guile, we can move away from brute force.
Years prior, the very similar street crime unit was eliminated sometime after officers fatally shot unarmed Bronx street vendor Amadou Diallo in a barrage of 41 bullets. Bronx Councilman Kevin Riley,
I was so afraid at that moment,
says he's had his own run-ins with anti-crime before becoming an elected official.
He held us against the wall.
He was 23 when he says anti-crime cops ambushed him and his friends on 219th Street.
Just because we look a certain way doesn't mean that we're criminals, and that's how we were treated that night.
Riley says the cops thought they were robbing a house. They were ultimately released, but left with a bad taste.
Whenever I see a siren behind me just getting pulled over, my heart drops, like literally below my stomach.
Critics say anti-crime escalated tensions, but gun violence appears to be soaring without them. This year, so far, there's been more than 600 shootings compared to last year's 300 plus, and more than double the amount compared to 2019. For Masonette, it's painful to watch.
It's like bringing a friend from the brink of death, right? Saving him, and then now watching him die a slow death now.
But police are still making gun arrests even without anti-crime. At least 455 more this year compared to the same time last year.
We're moving forward. We're reimagining now what is neighborhood policing.
And Chief of Patrol Juanita Holmes says still getting the job done. They're using precision policing, concentrating more cops in specific high crime areas, and tools like ShotSpotter, which uses artificial intelligence to detect gunfire.
44% of the times that we responded, arrests were made. That's key.
Holmes says so is cooperation.
But in order for a community to do that, they need to trust.
When anti-crime was disbanded, the cops either made detective or went back to patrol. Some also became part of public safety, working with other officers to grab guns, but in a uniform rather than plain clothes. Moves critics have slammed as surface level.
You cannot take the violence out of police by moving them from one place to another.
Communities United for Police Reform continues to push for reallocating NYPD funding to mental health and youth services. But Councilman Riley says getting rid of anti-crime has increased transparency, and that's a step in the right direction.
I want to see my NYPD officer. I want to know your name. I want to be able to come to you if there's an issue. And I really feel like the anti-crime unit really didn't give us the chance to do so.
Masonette, however, says it was anti-crime that gave some of the most vulnerable New Yorkers a chance at a safer life.
If you make enemies with your police, you better make friends with the criminals, because that's the only alternative.
Anthony Carlo, News 12.